Just a fair warning before I start this review. I'm pretty sure my bias and soft spot that I have for this album impulsed it to be so high in the score that you'll get in the end of the video. But whatever, I still love it anyways. What do you want from me? So, Green Day is a globally known punk rock and pop punk band who came out with some incredible classic records in the punk genre in the 90s, such as Dookie and Insomniac. And off the heels of their biggest commercial flop at the time, Warning, came this album, American Idiot. Just to give y'all context of the emotional meaning of this album for me, it is one of the first tastes I got of punk music at the time when I first listened to the title track of this album back in 2023 or so. So the image of this album's instantly recognizable cover art have stuck with me throughout these past 3 years, and I finally decided to give it a try. After listening to some individual songs from the album left and right, and more recently, getting the frickin' CD copy. So, is American Idiot all that good? Well, objectively, I would say it's good. Personally, though, it's one of my favorite albums ever made. Not only because I enjoy punk music and all of the genres that Green Day develops of it, such as pop punk, but also because of its tangible concept that is incredibly well realized through the lyrics and the lyric book present within the CD pressing. So this album kicks off with the title track, as I mentioned, which has an instantly recognizable riff, Billy Joe Armstrong's powerful vocal performances, and Trey Cool's insane drumming. This song also presents the supposed theme of political injustice that the record tries to stand up against. Not to mention that this album was released in 2004 when the United States was still ravaged by 9/11 and they'd just gotten into the Iraq War under the Bush administration, which I know, more boring politics. And that political message has resulted in the album being generalized as a massive protest album, but that's not so much the case. However, we do get our first plot development in the first suite, Jesus of Suburbia, where we're introduced to the title character, of course, Jesus of Suburbia, and the title segment alongside the second part, City of the Damned, are pretty much tied to be the best part of the suite. Whilst Jesus of Suburbia, the segment, is a lot more memorable and anthemic, City of the Damned has more profound lyrics about life in the slums. However, the third segment, I Don't Care, starts to drag the song out as its chorus is annoyingly repetitive and sounds like a sped up version of the title segment, even though Dearly Beloved and Tales of Another Broken Home kind of redeem the song, with a nice xylophone riff and some more plot development showing Jesus of Suburbia running away from home, respectively. Then, after the long-ass Jesus of Suburbia suite, we have Holiday, and goddamn, is this such a good song! By far a 10 out of 10, because this song sounds like the protest that the title track wants to be, alongside the instantly recognizable chorus and the head-banging guitar riff, making it a perfectly tight song. This song perfectly transitions into Boulevard of Broken Dreams, the album's most popular track, and this album's first lonely ballad. And I can see why it's so popular. The chords are jangly, and the guitar riffs, alongside the choruses, are instantly memorable, of course. However, things go a little bit downhill with Are We the Waiting, as its chorus sounds eerily similar and brings itself to be like a ripoff of Bruce Springsteen's My Hometown. The lyrics may reflect the protagonist's desire to change society, but it's not all that engaging. However, things start to build up with St. Jimmy, one of the shorter tracks on the album and the most hardcore punkish track on the album, because it starts with a blistering fast tempo and includes another plot development by introducing Jesus of Suburbia's supposed alter ego, St. Jimmy, who is kind of a rebellious drug dealer, I guess. People are gonna get mad at me for this next score, but I really love Give Me Novocaine. The soothing, jangly acoustic riff combined with the heavy guitars in the choruses make this track a wild emotional ride. And the lyrics may or may not insinuate that Jimmy is pushing Jesus to take some of the hardest drugs known to man. Even though She's a Rebel and particularly Extraordinary Girl are very bland, boring, and forgettable, they do introduce us to Jesus of Suburbia's love interest, whom they only refer to as What's-Her-Name. But yeah, Extraordinary Girl is very bland. It's the weakest song on the album despite its good African bongo opening. However, Letter Bomb actually brings things back a bit with a solid kid song sample, a really good guitar riff, and an incredible fast pace. Besides, I love how in the lyric book of the CD copy, the lyrics of Letter Bomb are stylized as an actual postcard to someone with only the initials J. I don't know if it's Jesus or Jimmy. I just thought it was a nice stylistic choice, I should point out. Following this is the ballad of the entire album, Wake Me Up When September Ends. While it doesn't feel as plot-focused as the other songs, it's still a really nice, heartfelt, and even heartbreaking threnody to Billy Joe Armstrong's late father, accompanied by an insane guitar solo. Up next is Homecoming, the second and, in my opinion, better suite of the entire record. Beginning with the Death of St. Jimmy segment, which portrays Jesus of Suburbia rejecting the St. Jimmy persona as he realizes how much it's hurting both himself and what's-her-name. East 12th Street, while it is a little bit weaker, is another logical progression in the story, as it shows Jesus of Suburbia renouncing himself and hitting rock bottom as he realizes the cruel state of the nation, followed by the much blander Nobody Likes You, talking about loneliness and repeating the same children's song sample from Letter Bomb. The fourth segment of the song, Rock and Roll Girlfriend, is undoubtedly the worst part of the entire album, as it demonstrates that Trey Cool isn't much of a songwriter. But the suite is fortunately redeemed by the fifth and final segment, We're Coming Home Again, which portrays Jesus of Suburbia coming back to Jingletown, his hometown, with what's-her-name. And yes, that name is specified in the lyric book. However, I can't shake the feeling that the closer track, What's Her Name, would have been better implemented into the album if it had simply come before Homecoming, which is undoubtedly a more cinematic and logical conclusion to the album. Also, I forgot to mention this, but the production is uniformly tight, and the music videos for Holiday and Boulevard of Broken Dreams and American Idiot are all amazing. You should check them out. But whatever, yeah, this album was pretty good. I think it's borderline perfect in my opinion. I still love it even though it does have its duds. And yes, I will be listening to Holiday and Homecoming over and over and over again, as I always have for the past few months. Of course, this album barely falls short of the thematic richness and the thrill of Dookie, but it's still very good. And I think some of the political commentary brought up on some of the tracks is only gonna age better with time, so it's impossible not to immerse yourself in the experience. Overall, yeah, I really like this album. I know it's not objectively perfect, but I think it's a really great punk rock and pop punk album whose rebellious and anti-establishment lyrics, again, will only age better with the current administration, god damn it. So yeah, thank you Green Day for this amazing project. I will always keep it as a personal favorite. 7.5 out of 10.